Welcome everyone to our preview of the Autumn Budget 2021. I'm here with Guy Smith, our tax director. We're going to look at what potentially could be in the budget next year. We're going to look at what potentially could be in the budget next week. So, Guy, what are the Chancellors' objectives for this budget?
I think he'll have a number of things he will want to do. I don't think he's finished his tax raising efforts yet, although it was only last month or perhaps 6 weeks ago where he announced that big increase in national insurance contributions, which is going to bring in, what, 12 billion overall. I don't think that's the end of his attempts to reduce the country's deficit, and I still think he will try and do more things to try and claw back more tax. But I think he will also try and be conscious of the things that are happening in the marketplace with regard to electric bills for end customers, and I think he'll try and do something that way as well. Okay. So I think basically taking with one hand and giving with the other hand. That's the best way to describe it.
As always, big juggling act. Yeah. So one big event for the country, if not the world, is COP26 this year. So I was wondering, how influenced do you think this budget will be? Do you think it will be a green budget?
I think there will definitely be green, a large green element to it, particularly as it's the UK that's hosting the COP26 in Glasgow, and I think he will be keen to stress this government's green credentials in front of the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are some sort of tax breaks for entrepreneurs to develop green technology, or some sort of something that will help the wider planet.
Indeed, yeah, I agree completely, Guy. I think there will be. Yeah. They will be listing all the things that they've already done. A lot of it will probably be re-announcements, but let's fingers crossed that hopefully there may be some new incentives as well out there.
Sorry, Nicky, what he might try and do, because this government is so determined to get people to drive electric cars, and of course one of the problems with driving electric cars is you need to charge them a lot, and not everybody. If you're living in London, for example, and you're all in flats, where do you get to charge your cars? So there might be some sort of tax break involved for entrepreneurs who can set up electric charging points, or planning relief, or some sort of incentive for businesses to set up electric charging points where people can go and charge the car, which of course leads into one of the other things that we're going to discuss, is about how at some point he will need to change from the old style of taxes that we do now for charging petrol and diesel and trying to get duty on those. He's going to have to start thinking about, well, I'm not going to, as people move towards electric cars, I'm not going to get as much duty in from petrol as I used to. I'm going to need to get the money from somewhere else now. So, at some point there's going to be a shift between the old style taxes into new taxes, and where he goes with that. Now, whether he'll give us any direction in this budget, that might be a bit too soon. But with it being COP26 this month, this might be the time where he sort of sets out a wider policy, or a clear indication of the direction of travel that he's thinking of, just to sort of get people on notice and to encourage investment.
Indeed. So what I wanted to do now is just do a quick fire round between the main types of taxes that we think will be covered. Well, they are always covered, and what we think, if there's anything new to be announced, or if we already know the potential changes. So the first one is something that isn't always in the headlines, because it is business rates. So there's been so much talk over the years, but I think our consensus is that we don't think there's going to be anything particularly announced in that area. What do you think?
No, they've looked at it so many times about what they can do to try and help the high street, but when they could have jumped in, they haven't gone far enough to help the high street. What this government seems more intent on doing is taxing the online operators more than the physical the physical storefront stores. So I don't think there'll be anything on rates.
So we're predicting no change on business rates, but there could potentially be some more activity regarding the online sales tax. So next one, income tax.
Well, we know he's already frozen the personal tax rates, and he's frozen the tax bands. I'm not sure there's anywhere else he can go with that. I don't think he's going to change any. None of the headline. I don't think he'll renege on any of those. He said that's what he's going to do, and that's what he's going to do. If he's going to mess around, if he's going to tinker with tax, he might go to pensions again, because that's been a favourite of governments over recent times, where they say, right, we want us to restrict pension tax relief in one shape or another. He might go after the where you can take 25% of your pension out early, tax free. He might try and clamp down on that. It won't raise much money, but it'll raise some money. Or he might try and do something else with pensions where he thinks there's a way of getting some money in. So I don't think there'll be a big headline tax, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does lots of little things to get money in if he can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the manifesto seems like a very long time ago, but the pledge was that the main taxes wouldn't be messed around with. Although, of course, we know NI is, which will be our next one to go into. But we think possibly around the edges, but not the headline rates. Yes, NI, as I mentioned, national insurance. We've already heard what's likely to happen there. Refresh our memory, Guy.
So that's the 12 billion that he's going to collect from national insurance for funding the NHS and healthcare. So he's already announced that. We know that's coming in. I don't think there'll be anything else with national insurance contributions at all.
And they're talking about, of course, they're using that. Apparently talking about ring fencing that for certain health areas. Corporation tax. So there was big news last budget about what's going to be in there with the super deductions. I've always predicted that these rates that are going up will probably disappear just before the next election. That's what. Yes, predicting that they'll disappear before the next election. Do you agree? Do you think they'll still just be there the same for now?
Yeah, I think what governments like to try and do, don't they, is they like to bring in all the unfavourable tax rules and rates in the midterm part of their period in office, and then as they get closer towards the end, then suddenly, we found some more money, we will reduce this and we reduce that, and try and buy a few votes as the election day gets closer and closer. Indeed. So I wouldn't be surprised if that. But I'm not. I think if there's any with corporation tax, I think it'll be more special rates, perhaps for special things. And again, I'm thinking about green initiatives.
Yeah, like a green R&D. That could be a good idea.
Yeah, not a corporate tax rate as such, but some sort of benefit to corporates for doing something different and helping the I was going to say atmosphere.
Environment.
The environment, that's what I was looking for.
We'll cut that. We're helping the environment. Yes. So what lots of entrepreneurs particularly want to know, especially if they're thinking of selling their businesses, is capital gains tax. I haven't seen any potential changes there. What have you seen, Guy?
I don't think there'll be much there either. I don't think that's an area of priority for him, to be brutally honest. I don't think that's where he'll be looking. Yeah,
there's not been any consultation papers or anything about it, has there?
I mean, the only thing that might happen with CG, they might put the rate up, but again, I'm not convinced he'll do that, mainly because of things they promised in the manifestos, and the Tories, as a rule, don't want to be seen as a tax raising party. They've been forced into it really with the COVID and having to put taxes up for all the problems that have occurred in the NHS with operations building up and in care homes, and the 12 billion rise on national insurance really was against their inner being. Really, it isn't something they would normally do, and they were forced into it.
Absolutely.
He won't want to be thought of in the long term as the tax raising chancellor. He would rather, that isn't the way he projects himself. I think he will look to restore. He'll want to protect his green credentials, for saying to business, I'm here to help you as we move towards, changes in the economy. I think he'll want to be seen to be doing that. And I also think he'll want some support of the back benches. So I think he'll try and do something to help his colleagues in red wall seats that they won from the Labour Party last time. So whether that means he might try and do something on electric bills, because with the cost of electric shooting up, rather than helping the companies themselves with some sort of tax breaks or bailing them out financially, whether he'll say, right, we want to help the end consumer.
Yeah. And that neatly goes into VAT, because we were thinking, you were thinking earlier that might be the tool to use.
Yeah, he will want to find a way of reducing the financial burden on families, particularly in those red wall seats. He will want to be supporting his colleagues in those seats.
Yeah,
with half an eye on the next election when it comes along. And so I think with bills shooting up so fast and projected to go even higher, I think he will try and do something to help with heating bills. I think he'll, particularly with Christmas coming, whether he boosts the winter allowance or he does something, I think there'll be something in there to say, look, we're listening to you. This is how we're going to try and help. I think I'll be amazed if there isn't something like that in there.
Yeah, indeed. So potentially it could be boosting the winter allowance, reducing temporarily VAT on fuel, but it could be either. But of course, it's got to balance that thing of actually the green credentials of reducing your heating bill, because it is going up, so it's going to be a bit of a contradiction there of which way he goes compared to saving people that have got fuel poverty. And then finally, inheritance tax.
Again, that might be tied in with changes, if they make any, to the pension tax relief. Whether the changes they make to pension tax relief then have a knock-on effect to inheritance tax. So inheritance tax might get brought into the mix if they do something. It all depends on what they do with pensions, but inheritance tax may come into play there as well. But it's a tricky one to call. Pensions of, like, as I've just got this feeling that somewhere there's going to be some pension changes. Whether it goes down that line or not, we'll have to wait and see.
So any other final predictions for us, Guy?
Any final predictions? Perhaps he might go after tobacco, and he might say, right, we're going to bundle even more money on duty on tobacco, and he might try and reduce duties on less. He might try and help, because you've got so many breweries, small breweries, that are trying to get off the ground, and it's become a real like hub of the economy. We've got lots of like Brewdog and all of these smaller brewers that really seem to have taken off. He might be keen to support them, so he might do something like beer duty and try and help them grow even faster to help export goods. He might try something in that sort of arena, and think, rather than just say 2p on this and 3p on that and 4p on that, he might try and do something a bit more different in that. Yeah, he might go for it in that area instead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super. So we aren't predicting any particularly major changes of the core taxes, certainly, because a lot of stuff has already been announced. We are thinking there's going to be a big green flavour, but what we will definitely, of course, find out next Wednesday. And if you want to hear about what this actually means to you and your business, please do join us for our full budget update webinar on Thursday, the 28th of October at 1 p.m. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Cheerio. Bye. Bye.